Oj, ja, där vet jag. That'll take a while. And this is how you come down. It's Christmas Day. Listen how quiet it is here. Dead quiet. Got the fire going. The kids, unfortunately, spent their entire day yesterday at the airport, Vancouver and Abbotsford, trying to fly out, and they never made it. I don't know what's going on with the travel here in British Columbia or across Canada, but it's an absolute cluster. And it's not due to the weather, I'll guarantee that much. Not here anyway. Something's up, man. It's just, there's so much going on that does not make sense when it comes to traveling around here, especially with the BC ferries and the planes. But anyway, so on that note, Sarah has left, and now she has to drive over an hour to go wait for the kids to come over on the ferry and then come all the way back. And then turkey's in the oven. And I've got all my stuff done. The place is cleaned up, got the fire going. Animals are all fed and taken care of, and I can just sit here in the peace and quiet inside with heat, nobody around, no noise, and I'm going to get some voices heard on Christmas. What do you think of that? So, I don't know if anybody else is managing to escape and have a little quiet time. Now let's see. What do we got? There might be a bunch of people out there that don't have anybody today, but you actually do. You have everybody here and more, always. It just might not be cluttered up in your living room at the same time, that's all. Let's listen to this one. A thank you note from Stephen. Stephen sent you a thank you note for donating. Okay, Steve, I'm not sure how I can ever thank you enough for taking the time to help me spread Tristan's story and your donation. This is the first Christmas in my entire life that I am spending alone. I've been dreading it for a while now. Hunting this fall has helped me keep my mind off as much as it could. But thank you, and all the kind, hardworking people who were able to get it out too. You're able to get it out too, has given my Christmas a little cheer that I never expected to be there. I'm at my hunting camp for the weekend, and the only thing I have left in my in my life is my good old bloodhound Daisy, and I'm happily going to spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day sending every one of these amazing humans a thank you for helping his story get ready. Must have been be heard, and their donation to help me spread it as far as I can. Still a little ways from our goal, but I'll get there, and every cent will help reach a little further, and hopefully I can save some kids. I wish you and Sarah and the rest of the family Merry Christmas. Thank you much again, Tristan's dad, Stephen. Okay, Stephen, and Merry Christmas to you, and just so you know, dude, you're not alone. You're not alone. You might be in that cabin without a bunch of us there physically, but you're definitely far from alone, my man, all right? Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget it. We're all here. We are all here. All right, let's get into some more voices this Christmas late morning. What is it? It's almost 11 o'clock. All right, let's hear this one. It crossed the street 20 feet in front of me. I was walking home from the store last winter on 10 p.m. My street has street lights about 100 feet apart and lit up very well at night. Snow was plowed, streets were hard packed and plowed. Banks were over 4 feet high and most of the driveways were shoveled. I noticed something crossing the road in front of me. It was a little strange to say the least. This thing was mostly cloaked. Is the only way I can describe it. There was a lower, maybe section of the leg and covered with brown fur moving from the right side of the road to the left. As I was looking at that, I started looking left. There was what appeared to me as pixelation, but not like normal, but elongated ovals running vertical. They were translucent and kind of shimmering. As my eyes continued to go left, there was another section of fur about 4 feet from the ground. It was about 60 inches across by 2 feet of fur. This being walked across in front of me, was mostly cloaked. Since my encounters in 2019, I have seen and experienced a lot of different things, like white eyes looking at me from the backyard as I was looking out in the dark. They were wide apart, and at 30 feet or so, they are at least 2 times as wide as a deer. Whistles from the tail end of the parking lot at 4 in the morning. Back to it anyhow. I think I've been what other people have said on the channel as to have been marked. I'm not sure that this being didn't let me see it on purpose. Other than being screamed at, I've had no bad experiences. I went across the street slowly. About 30 feet between snowbanks, I watched it all the way. It went up the drive and between the houses. I walked up to where I saw it cross, and not a print of any kind, nothing. I walked up the driveway to look between the houses. I had a headlight in my bag and put it on and looked at the untouched snow between the houses and nothing, undisturbed. I'm sorry for the long email. This was up close, and what I saw very clearly. Your share yesterday confirms what I thought all along. You shared an encounter not long ago where a young boy had a dog man come in his window and tell him that I could take you and eat you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That wasn't bad enough, but what dog man can talk? What the F, mind speak? That puts it in a whole different category. Now we have the biggest predator and most vicious creator on the planet and can understand language and has the abilities a Sasquatch has. And to your encounter that you shared for a woman telling about what her father said, there were 7 of them that were used by the military to kill over 300 during Vietnam. Yeah, that one was something else, right? That's something like that would be talked about a lot, don't you think? We'd probably have a lot of people chime in that had first-hand experience with that experience over in Vietnam, I would think. I don't know. Maybe. We've all heard the government has taken Sasquatch, done whatever to them. I've always thought that with assets like that out there, they would have some under their control. Why not? A being that is unstoppable, able to cloak itself, create a portal, go anywhere, through walls, trees, whatever. What assets to have? Dogman, as she said, 8-inch claws and teeth to match and call in the 60s to do your bidding. Nothing would surprise me anymore. Thank you for doing what you're doing and be safe. Steve, sorry for the long email. Western New York. Okay, man. And then you got an email with a little note for me. 1 second. Okay, got you, man, on the noise remedy for the shop. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the help. Okay, here's another one. This is a question for you is the title of this email. I'm writing you to write to you, not to be really on your show. Well, you're on now. I'm retired military, want to keep a low profile. I got you, man. I'm also a Christian and have some understandings of spiritual warfare. Been watching your videos for a while. I've enjoyed them very much and learned much from them. Good news. I've talked to the old blank as well, learning about Bigfoot. Say sorry, I'm not being insulting, but I don't promote any channel, especially if I don't know who or what they're about. When you talked about the idea of them having telepathic ability, it confirmed to me what I suspected. If I tell you this, you might think I'm crazy. Probably not. I was listening to your videos last night in my house during this snowstorm. I had that feeling. I was being watched, even within my house. So, I rebuked it in Jesus' name, and it stayed there. Suddenly, there was a loud noise against the side of my house. I know this sounds crazy. Even my wife, who was in bed, called me from upstairs and asked what the heck that noise was. I looked out the window in each area and could not see no branches on the ground, no footprints, but I felt in my spirit to get my rifle handy. Not just any rifle, but get my SOCOM 458 out and ready. I've shot a few of those. A few of my friends in Alabama custom built some of those. The feeling stuck around the house for about 20 minutes and it left. I wouldn't call myself telepathic, but it runs in my family. Anyway, that night, last night, I must say I think the whole night I dealt with this Bigfoot in the spirit. I don't live too far from the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and not far from me is a huge wooded area near Hoffman Dam. This area is really locked down by the park rangers. They patrol it like a hawk. They actually have 2 very large offices within 1 mile of the dam, but odd, there is no cars hardly ever there. Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it? However, at night they keep a car not far off the road, occasionally to keep people from fishing at the lake. I wonder why. What's the big deal? I would say about 5 years ago, the Lord told me that this was a Nephilim area a long time ago, so I thought it makes sense. Wright brothers launched the first aircraft in a nearby field, and that area is a huge wooded area on base, near the base lake. That lake is different than Hoffman Dam Lake. So I'm guessing that they hit my house, probably doing outer body, or how would something hit my house when I'm watching your videos like that? Do you know others that dealt with them in dreams? Dude, we have got a shit pile of people who have emailed in about having dreams and experience with these beings and the experiences they had in the dreams were absolutely realistic, and other shit happened to them in the morning when we woke up that was directly linked to the dream, whatever it was they were having the night before. So yeah, tons of people write in about dreams. If you're interested in some pretty short but very good Bible prophecy stuff, check out You Be Ready 2185. Most of his are 4 to 5 minutes. He tells people what the Lord says and keeps it short. Okay, man? Over the past 3 to 4 years, I don't know how many dreams I had of the giants returning, but it was a lot. It bothered me so much, I rearmed for it. I had dreams that basically most weapons are worthless against them, so I followed rules a buddy of mine said he uses for grizzly in Alaska. 4, 400 caliber or more. 3, 300 grains or more. 1,000 foot per second or more. Hope all is well. Okay, man. Yeah, you know what, on the firearm thing, I think I've mentioned before, but if anybody's curious, the number 1 stopper of anything in North America is a 12-gauge slug. That's what I've been shown. That's what they use for bear grizzly attack awareness courses that a few people teach government employees who work in the woods. It's straight across the board so far here in BC anyway. Probably North America is. The 12-gauge slug is the number 1 stopper for something large coming to whack your ass. Hunting rifles, ooh, hunting rifles stopping a charging animal, 800 pounds, whatever, it just gives me the creeps. As I know of way too many people that have attempted to stop something with a high-powered rifle. And they usually, it does kill them, but they usually kill the shooter as well, so. Anyways, about it. What else did you ask in there? The dreams, yeah, address that. And I hope you're not angry I shared the email. I mean, but it's the area, things you mentioned about the people patrolling the area. There's going to be somebody else who's aware, watching this channel, and they may have more knowledge they can add to what you shared too, okay? So we'll see what comes from sharing what you just shared through me. Appreciate you, man. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Keep us posted if anything else that may happen. All right, here we go. Here's another one. Tidbit, a game warden told me. Here we go. Bula, Steve. Thanks for what you do. In my previous job, I got to do some pro bono projects for the regional fish and game warden. Bono, what's that? This is one of my favorite times in that job, as I got to spend time with the warden in the field collecting data a few times, as well as him visiting my office for some projects. He's a very nice guy, and we had a good rapport with each other. The lifetime savvy curiosity got the best of me in the field with him one day, so I asked the big question. Please realize this is paraphrasing, as the conversation happened about around 10 years ago, and I don't remember the conversation word for word. I asked him, do you ever get reports of Sasquatch, or have you seen one in the field? He took a few seconds and stared in my eyes, I guess to see if I was seriously asking him this. I guaranteed he was. He said, no, I never have seen one, but yes, I have investigated report sightings. My mind was blown. I said, well, what happens then? And he said, well, if the report seems legit, I turn it over to the agency that deals with it. Then what happens? I asked, and he said, then that's it for me. The other department does what they do with it. And it didn't seem like they get to know any more about it. So, this speaks to the compartmentalization in the government to control knowledge leaking to the public. If the field investigators are on the ground, turn it over without further knowledge, and then the buck stops there. It really hit me when I watched Dave Plies' UFO Connection, and the retired RCMP officer said that they turned UFO reports over to another agency, and that was the end of their part of the investigation. As I was watching the UFO Connection with my girlfriend, I said, this is just like I told you about what the game warden told me. Though this happened in the US and not in Canada. I have two weird encounters that I figured I should mention. At the same job doing field work, it says world, but I'm sure it was work, I was driving very slowly down a private rural driveway. It was really interesting looking road to me as they put the road in a narrow section that ran between two small, maybe 10-foot high embankments on each side. I was being a looky-loo as well, driving respectfully slow due to being on private property. As I drove very slowly down the small road, I saw what appeared fox-like, or a small canine came down that U-shaped road and back up the embankment at such an astonishing speed. It crossed the road down the right side embankment, over the road, and back up the other left side embankment. The super weird thing about it was that it moved like it was on rails. So fluid, and I never saw feet moving. I was seeing the body of a small red fox or a canine floating hyper fast along the path it took, with no feet or legs moving. It almost seemed like the Predator movie, or how on the movie Danny Darko, that trail forms from the people, like slightly invisible fog around the roller coaster, like fluid path it flowed on. It shook me up. And I had to sit there for several moments pondering what I just saw and thinking a fox can't move like that, can it? I also felt drawn to notice it somehow. Another small and sort of weird event I had on a hiking trail in Mammoth Cave National Park, Kentucky. I came down the beginning of a main trail that was fairly busy with people, as it being so close to the parking area and the beginning of the trail, there were those large sort of reeds from the small creek that were, I guess, from 4 to 7 feet high in like a 15-foot circle around. Well, I was drawn to it, like spidey senses all tingling through me and being extremely drawn to it. I just stared and stared into it, and I could hear a little rustling in the reeds. My hiking companion gave me some shit and said, "Stop acting weird and let's move on." I said, "But there's something in there." They said, "So what? Let's go." And so we did. Okay, that's a tidbit of knowledge I have. Bula and Kaba shells raised up to Joe. Cat, I'm not familiar with what that means, Joe. But I'd imagine it's something good, so I appreciate it. And, yeah, on the note from the game warden and the government, like I said before, I can't think of one thing that I need to hear from any government besides maybe possibly forgive us and don't kill us, but that's about it. So, on that note, it's all about us. It's all about us, and our voices are the only ones that matter. Believe you me, it's the only thing that matters is what the people know and say and talk about and share. We are what matters. So, appreciate the fact that Game Warden shared what he did with you, right? But I've had a couple friends of mine who are conservation officers, and I've dropped the question on them, and they kind of, it's almost like the exact same reaction they give. It's almost like they're instructed to give it. Whatever, I don't give a shit. I don't need to hear it from anybody. I do not need anybody to tell me. I don't need anybody of any kind of position like that, related to that, to tell me shit. I just don't. I need all of you to keep talking to each other, through me, whatever. I need to hear from all of you. That's all I need in this whole planet, is to hear from the people. That's it. But it's interesting though, isn't it? And I do remember Dave saying something to me about that. About like a particular incident where I know where this is, and a man went missing, and next thing you know, it wasn't just search and rescue. It was some sort of military that showed up with helicopters, and they're coming out of the helicopter and all sorts of weird shit, which absolutely did not make sense, right? So anyway, and I know they talked to some police officers here that told him the same thing. They passed it off to somebody else. Whatever. So what do? We pass it off to each other. Right? Look at the power that creates. I know I haven't seen Dave's flick yet. I don't have time to do shit. When I do have a spare hour or two, this is what I do. So it keeps me away from watching the tube. But I'll watch it eventually. Thanks for sending that in, man. Absolutely appreciate you. And I hope you're having a great Christmas today. And keep sharing what you come across in the future with us too, all right? All right. Who's next? Type this as red. I'm fasting today, so I can eat as much turkey as I can tonight. Once clueless, now enlightened is the title of this email. Once clueless, now enlightened. Hello, Steve. Not an exciting story, but pieces to my puzzle nonetheless. I'm from New England, where I currently live. However, I lived in Northern California from 2010 to 2019 in the Sierra Nevadas, about an hour northwest of Lake Tahoe. In 2012, I began a relationship with a man who, like myself, loved to explore. I've always been the adventurous type. Frequently, we would explore the numerous logging and fire roads of the Tahoe National Forest and beyond. We began to camp almost every single weekend from May to late October over a period of 6 years. That's awesome. That's a lot of seeing. We weren't much for campgrounds, although there were many to choose from, so we would always find alpine meadows tucked out of the way from people. Hiking or exploring trails and fire roads became a normal activity while camping. We almost always camped in the Sierra Buttes / Haskell Peak area. This area is about 30 miles as the crow flies from Incline Village, Portola, and Jackson Meadow. I mention this because I've listened to folks who have written in from those areas. Every summer we would come across the Basque sheep herder, Basque sheep herders, who we became friendly with despite the language barrier. Generally, the meadows we camped at had been nicely mowed down by the herder's sheep. as nowadays, characteristically, they would move on to other meadows, which they did all summer long. One day, driving on a remote logging road, I so vividly recall, as it has haunted me to this day, we had stopped to have a snack. We jumped up on a huge boulder with a great view and shared some food and drink. About 10 minutes into our stop, we heard the loudest, most blood-curdling scream from a woman. We looked at one another with such fright. Oh my God. It went on for a few minutes and then stopped. I was terrified. We just didn't know what to do. Could that actually be a murder going on? Then it started again. It was about 500 yards from where we sat. At that point, we jumped into the Jeep and left the area scared shitless. After some research and talking with others, we were told it was likely a mountain lion. There was no shortage of them in that area. However, I found it hard to believe that its scream could be so human-like. On a later camping trip, we crossed a formation of long logs standing upright in a teepee-style fashion up against a tree. I thought it odd, but perhaps the herder had put them there. It was clear he and his sheep had been there previously. Lastly, on the same trip, we came across the sheep herder about a mile from the log formation where we were camped. He was clearly upset when we saw him. He had lost 2 sheep the night before. The sheep had been gutted and mutilated. His dogs were never afraid of mountain lions and was very puzzled as to why the dogs had not scared off whatever attacked the sheep. It wasn't until in recent months that I watched the ridiculously pathetic Bigfoot shows, which did teach me about tree formations, knocks, and hoots, that I began to wonder about our experiences. Continuing to do more research, I found your channel and Dave Plies. Thanks to the many folks that have shared their experiences that I now know what I had witnessed. It's probably the best that I didn't know then what I know now. It amazes me the amount of people have had experiences and confirms the screams are clearly not from mountain lions. I hope families with children who camp in the Tahoe National Forest are cautious about letting the kids wander off or hike without protection. Amen. I'm most grateful, Steve, for Dave. I'm most grateful, Dave, for offering. Oh, I think he meant me. I'm most grateful, Steve, for offering this platform and giving people the opportunity to voice their opinions and experiences. My best wishes and peace to you and the Club of No Return. Indigo love. All right. Appreciate you. Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a great day today. You got to see a lot of shit. You spend a lot of time in the real world. I love hearing about people spending more time in the real world than not. Love it. And the Lake Tahoe area has always been on fire. It just has. Always. Tons and tons of sightings around there. All right, what do we got here? This is titled, I Know They Are Real. Me too. Hello, Steve. Love your channel. Thanks for keeping it real and spreading the knowledge worldwide. My name is Jason Modzalewski. I think I did it. Modzalewski. You can use my name. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. I know what I've seen and heard out in the woods. I'm 41 years old, and I've been a die-hard deer hunter since about 10 years old. I moved from New Jersey to Ohio in 2017, my first experience. My father and I went to Dillon State Park for opening day of gun season in 2017. I got into the woods about 6 a.m. to beat everyone else in the woods that day. If you've ever hunted public land in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, dude, 6 a.m. would be sleeping in for me. After sitting there about 10 minutes, I heard the loudest, longest, blood-curdling scream that lasted about 10 seconds or more. This was not a human, or just a coyote. This was something totally different. After doing my own research, the only thing I would have compared it to is the Sierra Sounds. Fast forward to 2021. We found a small 20-acre piece of private land to hunt and fish in Scioto County, Ohio. On opening day of firearm season, again, walking to my tree stand at 6 a.m., I had 4 big rocks thrown near me in the river. At first, I thought it was a deer jumping in the river, trying to get away from me. I scanned the whole river with my flashlight, but didn't see anything. Every time I turned my flashlight off and took 1 or 2 steps, another big splash next to me. This happened 4 times before I got freaked out and just kept going, saying to myself, what the F? Now it's 2022 and did a lot of bow hunting there, at least twice a week. One night walking out, I heard a loud man that sounded like a fake cow moan up higher on the mountain. This made me stop dead in my tracks, and all my hair stood up. I stood still for about 20 minutes just listening. 2 steps, and heard another moan again. Just then a bunch of deer that were close all snorted and took off. What the F? By this time, I hear tree knocks regularly. Tree breaks, whistles, rocks being smacked together really fast, and I even smelled them twice. So the next time I went there to hunt, I tried to do some tree knocks at dark, and I got an instant response back. Ugh. It sounded like a tree was pushed down high on the mountain. Walking out, I think I was being followed. After that, I decided I need to try to get more proof. So I brought my GoPro camera and tried doing the tree knocks again. This was a really big mistake. I got an instant response again, and something huge charged me. It came running down the mountain full speed like a freight train, straight at me. This thing had covered some serious ground in a matter of a few seconds flat. So fast, it was almost unbelievable. I had that OF moment. I had just enough time to take my pistol out and chamber around in my .45 before it stopped. It was 20 yards away from me, peeking out from behind a tree on the top of the hill looking down at me. It was too dark. All I could see was one glowing eyeball that stared at me for 4 minutes without moving or making any sounds at all. 4 minutes is like 6 lifetimes in real world time in the woods. Anybody curious? Time it. Take a picture. Picture seeing anything right there looking at you. The feeling you're going to get from seeing it looking at you. And now sit here and watch your clock for 4 minutes straight while that thing's looking at you. That is a lifetime. Before it stopped, it was about 20 yards away from me, peeking out from behind a tree on top of the hill looking down at me. It was too dark. All I could see was one glowing eyeball that stared at me for 4 minutes without moving or making any sounds at all. This thing scared the shit out of me, but my adrenaline was pumping. I knew this could end bad for me. I stood there aiming at that eyeball, trying to decide what to do. I decided the best option for me was to just leave quietly without any conflict. I really didn't like my odds that night. I walked out of the woods, backwards, that ready to unload on anything trying to follow me. I attached a screenshot I took while bow hunting this year. I think one was watching me that I didn't see at the time. My fiance noticed the dark spot when we zoomed in, where we were like, oh my God, holy shit. I think the listeners might be interested in seeing it. All right, man. And that's the end of the email. So there's like, I don't know, I guess there's a couple. There's a couple of dark areas. Okay, the top one's definitely, I don't know, who knows? You know what? A lot of people see shit in photographs that I don't see. Probably the majority, actually, people see stuff in photographs that I don't see. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't work, I'll load that photo up onto the video. But anyway, without a doubt, you know what you're hearing, man. You know what you're hearing. And another member of the Club of No Return, right? What a monstrous club it is. All right. Merry Christmas to you. Hoping you're having a great day today. And your family. And you come across anything that you think you can help the people with, you get it out to the people, all right? Talk out loud. Use me to share with the people here. Anybody else, just make sure you get knowledge out to the people. Make them priority. Please add my puzzle piece. Done. Here we go. Dave and Steve. A lot of people send me and Dave the same email, CCS, whatever they do. I've been meaning to write in my experience story for a few months. I just want to be very clear and careful about the details of my experience. This takes time. First, I will tell of my prior experiences with strange things. Next, I'll tell you what is happening to me since last January, several months after following Can-Am missing, and then how to hunt. Lastly, I'll give my name and contact info. This will be clearly separated from the body of my email at the end. Please do not read my name or contact information on air. I give it to you for credibility. Thank you for putting that in there, man. Gotcha. Here's my puzzle piece. Age 3. Berry picking up a Pacific Northwest pipeline road with my mother. Mom suddenly says, "A bear, look." She points up the gravel road. There at the brush line, same side we are picking, but about 600 feet up the road, I see what I believed was a bear. We left because Mom was scared. I always attributed the night terrors that began at that time to the bear sighting, and maybe Mom's reaction. Nightly, it from then on would tap on my window. Low growls were frequent too. My mother had no time for this and soon taught me to be more afraid of waking her than my fears. Someone taught me to pray, and this was for me the best option for the security that I needed at night. My next experience was about 22. I just laid down for a nap with my toddlers, and the buzzing, humming noise that I had noticed was weirdly only happening at nap time starts again. This time I have a dream that I am frozen. I can't move and I am panicked. The moments I fight this and try to sit up are terrifying. I feel as though my eyes are closed, but I see and sense 3 or more beings that are in the room with me. One is taller, wispy, bony, and is a classic big-eyed alien type, no clothes. The other type, shorter, dark blue-gray, and an Oompa Loompa is the best comparison to them. These ones were clothed, a brown vest and some pants, is all I'm clear on. I finally awoke and jumped up. Babies were asleep, and I walk into my living room looking out the window trying to shake off that horrible dream. Directly across the street, 4 to 5 houses have been constructed and look inhabited. Curtains, cars, yard stuff. I was really confused since it's just a small ridge. No houses are actually there. I went back to bed thinking I'm not really awake yet. When I did wake up, it was about 6 hours later and it was getting dark. The houses were gone though, so I must be awake now. I watched the construction begin a few weeks later, 6 months later, and those exact houses stood exactly in the dream. Now they were real. Holy shit, that's crazy. That's crazy. Next one is about 2 years later. At this point, I have moved south near Tacoma, Washington. I have a bad headache, and the moon is so bright in the daylight that I notice it is pulsating light. It is a pulsating light. Even though I'm almost unable to see with my migraine, I get up to look closer at this point because it's still light out, and this moon is now way, way too big. I look closely out the window, and it is clearly not the moon, but a giant silver mirrored orb. The sparse clouds reflected off its surface, and I had thought those reflected clouds were the texture of the moon. Nope, just clouds. I had now walked outside to the edge of my patio, and I was thinking of how cool it would be to see it closer. When fear and thoughts of my kids being alone woke me out of that moment, I quickly got inside. My next experience was a bit different in that I had to get help for a family member who didn't want me to tell anyone what was going on. Each and every time I spoke with my 2 sisters on the phone about this situation, we would be shouted down by a demon on the line. What? Every word we said was echoed back with a couple of seconds delay, not a deep demonic laugh. Next, a deep demonic laugh would interrupt and the line would go dead. It's really hard to get a thought out in that situation. Both sisters were so intimidated that they didn't seem to want to be a party to bring in the truth out. For several days after I formally made the report, I was literally pushed to the floor like my whole body was so heavy it was hard to move. After that experience, I chose to get baptized as an adult. The guy we called the holy man at church prayed over me, baptized me, and then anointed my head with oil. The next 8 years was trial by fire. Seriously unbelievable, unbearable stuff happened to my family members. I pressed into my faith and still at times was deeply depressed. In the summer or fall of 2021, I began following both of your channels just listening and taking notes, asking my own questions. January 27, 2022. I'm home with COVID for 10 days. I'm feverish and watching Canada for news about the blockade. I couldn't find coverage, so I found live streams and watched. In that time, I saw what the Canadian news and Trudeau were doing and saying about the truckers. I couldn't believe what was happening in Canada. Yeah, you and me both. I went to sleep praying for the truth. I no longer felt that I had a firm grasp on it. This world had gotten so insane that I no longer recognized it. Morning of January 28th, all the faces in the trees and bushes, etc., that I had been thinking were imagined were just a peek. Sorry, one more time. Morning of January 28th, all the faces in the trees and bushes, etc., that I had been thinking were imagined were just a peek at what I see now. At the same time, nearly every conspiracy that was crazy to me, I now see it as actually the truth. I asked for the truth, and I sure got it. At this point, though, I really have deep concerns about what I see, and I think it has to be the fever. Day 3, no fever, and I finally tell my husband. He reassures me, but he can't see this stuff. I'm still worried because what I see is so unreal, so scary, and frankly, just too much. Then I show my daughter-in-law and a friend. They can see it too. My curiosity is blowing up now because how can one person see it? Now there's not. This is what got my attention. How is that possible? I know that I'm not the only one who sees this stuff. The fact that I see it is one thing, but that I can show it to others is really what matters most. The reactions of people are pretty readable because it is so mind-blowing. I've shown about 100 people. Only one person got mad and started shouting stupid things at me. I get it. This is not my idea. I just see it. I said nothing to him, just looked at him. 2 weeks later, he says to me, I'm getting baptized. I knew it was just fear. LOL. Excuse me. I'm going into detail what I see now, and if anyone has anything to say about it, I'm listening. Unafraid, open-minded. Let's assemble this puzzle together. I'm all over it. Let's go. The leaves, trees, rocks, water, animals, and every natural thing can be inhabited by this spirit. I see it both as a haze or a cloud, often colored or clear. Also, fully out visible. If cloaked, I just pause and try to see through the cloaking. The ones I see in film, I pause. In real life, I take a photo. In videos that both Dave and Steve post outdoors, they always show up within minutes. They shift, fade in and out, roll their eyes, always creeping closer to them. Literally, every evil thing is represented. Fairies, trolls, witches, Ewoks, many that look like people or cartoon animals of every sort, giant insects, fish, fantastical creatures, and angels. So many look like movie monsters that it cannot be a coincidence. I have to wonder if these spirits feed off our fears, creating them for that purpose. The idea of an artist pulling this out of either is legit too, but so is demonic beings in that industry. Steve the Predator one is light gray/white went out. His face opens and looks like the undersea monster from Pirates of the Caribbean, with tentacles hanging like a beard from his jaw. I see them actually participating in human activity when there is a victim. They push people, etc. Also, at live events like music. I posted videos. I see people in matching shirts and sunglasses sitting behind the crowd. It looks to me like they are possibly cursing people as a group. None of these spirits can take what belongs to God. Remember that. Wear the helmet of salvation. The word is your sword. I suspect that I could help with searching, but would really need current pictures of the area. I can see if the Sabbath have been somewhere as they leave telltale spiritual smudges. Please don't shame me for waiting on this. I am doing the best I can. I wrote Dave 2 times last spring, early summer. Thank you, Dave, Steve, villagers of the Club of No Return members. Hopefully this is useful, sir. Hopefully this was useful for someone. B. Please don't read the rest out loud. All right, give me a minute. All right, gotcha. I got your personal message to me, and I appreciate it. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time you just shared. I hope you're having a great Christmas. And be sure, if you can share more, if you have anything you can share with all the people as a group that'll help somebody, then get it out to me, all right? Get it to them through me if you want. Get it, just get it out. Speak openly, don't be afraid, and share. And I understand why you don't want to be, why you want to remain anonymous. I get it, fully respect you for that. But keep doing what you're doing, all right? Just keep doing what you're doing. It's important. Very important. All right. Getting on another voice being heard. USAF retired. My story on my cousin's experience. Florida Panhandle. Florida again. Go figure. Steve, I hope you and the family, including four-legged ones, are doing well. I'm a retired USAF fighter jet crew chief that has returned home to Northwest Florida for the soon-to-be golden years. I'm married, no kids, unless you count our Landseer Newfoundland. Oof. LOL. And live in a small town 5 miles from the Gulf of Mexico, right on the edge of the Eglin AFB Range/Wildlife Reserve, largest military range in the USAF. I'm going to share with you my experience, what happened recently, and what I remember of my cousin's harrowing encounter and things I saw with my own eyes in the forest around his home. I will then share my 2 cents about the current state of affairs of the attack on Western/conservative values. Okay, you got my attention. Let's get into it. Let's start chronologically. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, my cousin and uncle from my mom's side of the family ran a scout reservation that surrounds Lake Alaqua between Mossy Head and Defuniak Springs, between Interstate 10 and Highway 90 in the western panhandle of Florida, roughly 50 miles east of where my house is. My recent encounter happened on the west central side of Lake Alaqua, Alaqua. My cousin was on the trail one evening during dusk conditions, on the reservation somewhere, don't remember exactly where, and began to hear something shadowing his footsteps. He walked, it walked. He stopped, it would stop half a stride later. The sound was quite audible as my cousin was on a dirt trail and this beast was trudging through dead foliage. Definitely a bipedal being, whatever it was. He claims this 8-foot-tall, hair-covered being eventually became visible. It quickened its pace in the brush, got about 50 yards ahead of him, then casually turned left toward the trail. It stopped about 40 feet to the right of the trail and 100 feet ahead of him. Good God, that would suck ass. My cousin reluctantly continued ahead, mind and pulse racing. He eventually caught back up to the being with nothing but 40 feet of medium dense brush and a 2-foot thick pine tree, typical of that area with scattered swamps as well, between them. He claims as if he felt he was in a dream. Thoughts of whether what he was seeing was real, whether or not it was dangerous, and what to do next were nearly overwhelming to him, the point of being frozen in place. The hairy man slowly advanced on him, almost seeming like it was floating, its blunt, conical-shaped head staying at one height as it came forward. It cut the distance between them down to less than 20 feet before Cuz realized what was happening, but it stopped shortly past that. My cousin's reality seemed to come back as soon as the being stopped. Some sort of mind control? Who knows? They stared at each other for a few minutes. Ugh. My cousin's jaw dropped, and the being with a slightly furrowed and scrunched 1.5-inch thick eyebrow set on a very prominent brow. My cousin believes the creature was 500 pounds easily. Huge shoulder width, 4 foot plus, and loads of tree trunk-sized granite carved extremities. This creature gave what looked like a slight smirk, then headed right and my cousin's left and eventually disappeared into the brush. Holy she-at, LOL. He isn't sure whether the creature vanished or just made it out of sight. Could have been either way. My uncle and my cousin both plastered many tracks that my cousin doesn't know what my uncle did with them. He is suffering greatly from Alzheimer's and induced dementia and is staying in an advanced care home. My cousin catches him on a good day. If my cousin catches him on a good day, he's going to ask who has them. I've heard strange whoops and calls out there on that reservation several times, and he witnessed a giant handprint in a very slow-moving creek that was no deeper than his knees. Handprint was about 2 foot from the edge of the creek bed, maybe 4 inches of crystal clear water. There are natural/artisan springs and aquifers all over Florida. I think the body of water is as well. I think this body of water is as well. Looks like something heavy may have been sitting there and put one hand into the creek bed to help itself stand. I'm assuming, not positive. This email's running along, Steve. LOL. I hope my occasional run-on sentences weren't confusing and this was a smooth read. I think it went pretty good, man. I'm going to split this into another email. Oh, there's that common mistake. So that I have a little rant room. Stay warm in this crazy storm that's ripping through the continent. It may actually dip down into the single digits for the first time in my life down here in Florida. Climate change is real, but not nearly as much as the mainstream swears. Why don't they call it out? Why don't they call out China, India, etc. on their insane pollution output? If you read this, I'll compose and send the second half of this share. Thank you for sharing straight and not taking shit from loony, Marxist, wannabe leftists. Trying to take guns from the good is evil and dangerous. If you catch my drift, take no shit from these swine. Merry Christmas to you and the fam and Happy New Year. If you get this late, at least I extend the wish. All the best. I think you said to leave out your name, didn't you? Yeah, I'm going to leave out your name. Appreciate you big time. Appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to the next half. Too bad you didn't share it now. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll come across it and find it. And I agree, there's some crazy stuff going on. I wonder if, I don't know why I thought this, I was daydreaming about some shit after reading some emails. And, people get tagged. Some people seem to be able to be exposed to these beings for some weird reason, others not. And then they seek things continually for the majority of their lives. Well, I wonder, side note, because of my attention is on the globe a lot and the dark, dirty, filthy bastard players, I wonder how many of the dark pricks get exposed. Or if they do. I wonder. Right? I wonder if they do. I wonder if they ever have dreams. I wonder if they ever see apparitions inside the house. I wonder if they ever see cloaking pixelated beings. I wonder if they ever get tagged. I wonder. Or does that other world even give a shit about them at all? Or do the beings who are not mixed in with us just watch our shit show, and I wonder if they're actually impatient as they go, oh man, would these idiot humans just hurry up and get on with it and implode and get out of our face again? Maybe, right? Who knows? I get all sorts of weird thoughts every once in a while. But anyway, Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. Be safe and brave. Don't ever be scared of anything or anybody, man. Never have fear. All right. What time? Okay, let's see. I think I get one more done here before this place turns into chaos. Knee-jerked share encounter Southeast Texas Piney Woods family property. Steve, the story from Southeast Texas, Big Thicket, from gentleman you just read on December 20th, 2022, did knee-jerk me, like you said, to share my story on the Round Table of Knowledge / Club of No Return / Good Guys and Gals team. All right, here we go. I have 2 encounters with something unnatural or with the Sabe, 2016 and 2020. Family property near Evergreen, Texas. A little background on the property. Has been continually owned by my mom's side of the family since 1850s. A lot of history, from Union soldiers camping on old homestead to police the South after Civil War on the natural spring that still flow to this day. Family cemetery has my Mimi and Papa buried in Evergreen at family plot. 2012, 2018, almost same day on both of my almost the same day, both of my grandparents passed. Crazy. 2016, thought this weirdness, being naive and brainwashed by the federal government, didn't think much of this until now, and after listening to every story on your channel since 2020. On to the encounter. Not as good as the next one I'm going to share, but here it is. Opening day 2016, me and my friend camped on an old logging road in the middle of property in a tent. Hunted opening morning, saw nothing, no game, etc. That evening, hunt got in stand around 4 p.m. 10 minutes later, heard a loud yell of Yahoo! Off the distance. Hard to judge, but seemed to come from national forest that's around half a mile away. Thought that's weird. Someone would be yelling this during deer season at the top of their lungs. That evening didn't see a thing, and also heard some weird people talking in the woods, rambling on about something. Couldn't understand a thing it or they were saying. Thought was weird that someone would be on our land around a quarter mile from us, give or take, walking around. One more time. Thought was weird that someone would be on our land around a quarter mile from us, give or take, walking around arguing. The night started around sundown. Loud whoops and howls accompanied by that sounded like the biggest pack of yotes going off in turn. Another unusual thing to point out. This went on, off, all through the night. 12:48 p.m., dozing off to sleep, a huge scream. Probably meant a.m. A huge scream yell went off around 500 yards from us, what I believe to be at the stand we were in the day before. Never heard anything like this in a lifetime in the woods, hunting and working on many giant rural ranches in Texas, an oil field, too many call-outs to mention, to oil and gas wells in the middle of the night by myself, sleeping in my truck most of the time after fixing whatever crap was broke. This scream, roar, yell I can't even describe got my attention to search for explanation to what made this. Ended up just thinking some crazed mama cow lulling for calf loud as hell. Didn't hunt the next day and left at daylight. Wasn't about to go back to where that crazy yell roar came from. That means it was a very significant sound. 2020. The encounter that changed my life actually for the better. Not like so many of us, even the most terrifying thing I experienced. First weird thing that happened. After sitting until 9 a.m., opening day, seeing nothing, me and my friend came back to camp, an old logging road, and just cracked our breakfast beers sitting around fire. Breakfast beers. I shit you not, I heard something coming through the woods toward us around 9:45 a.m. I had time to grab my M4, which was closer than my 45-70 because it sounded like a deer. Sure enough, as soon as I grabbed M4, a legal buck popped up 30 yards from camp, and I had time to put the scope on him and pull the trigger. At least got 2 into him first in the chest, and he ran off. Never found a drop of blood nor hair, etc. Searched for many hours, no success. Thought that was super weird. This buck and a older, smarter one just ran into camp and stared at us. Never saw one in legal shooting hours, only does and a spike, etc. After thinking I missed the buck, me and my buddy walked down a road around 50 yards from camp and sure brought a group of does bunched up on the road. This is super weird also. My friend shot one of them and got his first deer at age of 38. He's from Chicago, so don't hold it against him. Made him drag to camp gut and quarter by himself, being a pussy Yankee, whined the whole time about the nastiness of the whole ordeal. Told him to stop being a little B-word and get back to work. All in fun, of course. Thought that was funny to watch a dude from the big city squirm, etc. That night is when it got weird. Hollers and whoops started around 1 a.m., followed by yotes. Heard 2 wood knocks in the bayou area, and these weird cat call-like whistles that were from No Bird Beer Camp. 2 owls also around all night, hooting back and forth. This is the moment that changed me forever. One of the owls close to camp all night around 2 a.m. somehow appeared within 5 yards of my head and hooted, then called a deep guttural man cough. Have no idea how it got so close so fast and coughed like a freaking man. After this, 2 bipedal things flanked and walked around, came moving every 5 minutes or so. There's no punctuation. These are one sentence paragraphs and no punctuation. Okay, guys? But I think I'm getting it across. This point said F this and left my friend in tent and jumped in my truck, started and locked with my whole arsenal at ready, and actually fell asleep until daylight. I left your buddy. Friend ended up sleeping in his Jeep the rest of the night also, right after I left. He told me I was just hearing normal wildlife walking around, etc. He didn't hear owl coughing on my head. Don't know if he was asleep or not, didn't ask. Just asked him that morning why the hell you slept in your truck also. Didn't say much. I know he was scared as me. We packed up quickly, left again early, again like in 2016 hunt. I did check to see if doe harvested the day before guts were still there before leaving, and not a drop of blood or organs could be found. Not even a line needle had a drop of blood. A little rough, but I'm getting it. Told my wife would never camp out there again when I got back. After watching your channel past 2 years, I went back and grew a pair. I said a little prayer and rebuking whatever out there in the name of Jesus. I've not had anything happen since. Only trespassers, and they're stealing shit. That's East Texas for you. P.S. Yes, all the private land and whole deer lease culture is not my cup of tea. Saying this, I'll inherit a chunk of property when my mom decides, so I am one of them. People pay shit ton of money to shoot a deer over, feed her, and just sit in a stand. No skill and more like shooting a cow coming in to feed, etc. I got a French bulldog at my feet whining to jump on my lap right now in case you can hear the sounds. I only still hunt. Not the best, but not the worst. Killed 6 deer total with open sights, 45-70. Lever gun over 15 years there. Very tough and can't see shit. God bless. Brian Callahan. P.S. Use my name. Could care less what any man or woman thinks of me other than my immediate family, kids, and wife, and the one true God/Jesus. I believe half the country's sheeple is possessed literally by evil. The federal government is also, for a very long time, come to find out, my opinion in the 50s or after JFK was killed by 3-word agencies. F you, Fed scumbags using the Patriot Act if you're reading this email without permission. Rant over. Take care and God bless Texas and you, Steve. Amen. God bless Texas. I love that state. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you, man. And be safe and brave and keep speaking out loud. And if you got anything that people might be able to benefit from hearing, share it. Share it. Now, it is Christmas Day. Not a good day to do a rant. So I'll bite my lip on the rant end of things. There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on in the world today that's mind-boggling. It's absolutely freaking mind-boggling what's going around the globe today. Isn't it absolutely freaking bizarre? It's so bizarre. I don't understand. There's a lot that I don't understand. Hopefully we get to find out before our ride is up, right? Or my ride. I need to know. I need to know everything. Like I said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't want to die. And then go, oh shit, you gotta be kidding me. No way. You know what I mean? That just suck. It's just nothing worse than somebody getting you, you know? Especially when deep down you knew you were getting got and you could have done something maybe. Anyway, all right, I think this is my cue to stop recording. The other crazy dog's outside. And he's got something you want to say to everybody? Huh? What do you think? No? Don't be camera shy. Come here, Graham. Who's this? You want to say hello to the people? Merry Christmas? No? Maybe? All right. There we go. We'll be back later. Hope everybody's having a good one. And make sure you get a hold of somebody that might need might be able to benefit from getting a hold of even for a second today. And Merry Christmas to everybody. What are you saying? What are you saying? No? All right. I won't do it. Well, looks like he's coming our way. Hopefully we can scare him away.